This is one of my favorite wrestling shirts. Yeah, it doesn't look like one, and that is the beauty of it. The unholy Gregory James. Big fan, big fan, big fan. Glad I got one at the PCW Super Show. Yeah, really dig this shirt. I like shirts that you can wear anywhere and it could be a conversation piece. It's not necessarily have to be a wrestling fan that will like it or comment on it. I really dig that, and I try to do that with any shirts that I've ever designed, but really like this shirt. And I was planning on wearing the shirt even before he tagged me on Facebook and posted him working out with the DeMarco's My Homeboy shirt, which he picked up at the Super Show. Him and Randy Way, who also tagged me. I appreciate both you guys getting your sweat on while letting the world know that I am your homeboy. I'm a lot of people's homeboy. And if you have a shirt, I'm even more so your homeboy. But, anyway, jam-packed show. I will admit, quite the emotional topic this go-around. But, before we get into story time, a couple things to discuss. As I mentioned, picking up this shirt here at the PCW Super Show, which I participated in this past weekend, and I will say it, Richard asked me numerous times, as well as Thomas and Mike and a few others, asked me if I was having fun and did I have a good time, and yes, emphatically, I had an awesome time, had a great time, had a very happy time. It was great to see some old friends, get to share moments with them, as well as share some moments with some new friends that I got to meet, and some that very complimentary of my work. You know, talking about being fans of mine, so on and so forth. I always appreciate that. I appreciate those that watch this this show, which is kind of like a podcast, but it's on YouTube. I am loyal to YouTube, which I will cover. That's one of the topics of my story time, my beginning and the original concept of the Lucha Lounge and my YouTube series. But we'll get into that in a second. Back to the Super Show. Yeah, I had a fun time. Had a real fun time, and I got to catch like the second half of the show. I spoke to those, guys sought me out, guys and gals sought me out for advice as well as, critique of their match, and I appreciated that. It was good to see Paul for the few moments that I got to see him. I got to see him throughout. I get to see Charlie Fox, it was great to see him. Talk a little bit more about that during story time. Chris Stevens, Rob Moore, Action Jackson, Brett Idol. It was great to see Brett. The Bussies, of course, all the Bussies. Saw Steven, Larry, Chris, Thomas, Mike. Yeah, I saw all of them. Great to see Richard. Great to see Team Action. I love those guys. I should have gotten some of their merch. Great to see Andy Dalton, who tagged me with the thumbs down, his keeping it dirty and keep it clean. I don't know. I give thumbs up to everybody. But anyway, so it was good to see everybody. Now, as for my match or segment, I considered a segment, especially for those that were there. I mean, it was a nice, entertaining segment, very short. But it was quick, sweet, and to the point, which is fine. I don't get paid by the hour. I get paid to entertain, and that's what I did. I gotta hand it to BC Lindley for being such a good sport and really trying to showcase what he does best, apparently, which is being on the mic. My girl, who went with me and was really entertained by some of the show and really enjoyed what she saw. She filmed it, but I'm not going to release that. I might release it later on. I'm not really sure. But basically, it was quick, and thanks to Travis, both Travises, Travis Trueborn and Travis Baxter. Baxter for announcing me and doing such a brilliant job. Great to see his son and whatnot. And Travis Trueborn for counting 3. Yes, I was successful. But like I said, if PCW releases the footage, great. If they don't, hey, I've got the other angle of it. But it's quick, short, sweet, to the point. Again, great to see everybody that I got to see. Great to see the fans. Great to get a great reaction. I gotta admit, I was kind of nervous going into it because, I hadn't been there for a while. I said about 7 years, which roughly was about it. You know, I'd done a couple of spots here and there, but it'd been a while, really, for me since I'd been there. And one of those things, especially with like a super show, and you've got some of the MPX faithful that were there, you know, there's that concern that you're not going to get that great a reaction, especially if you've been away for a while. And I'm never really concerned with other companies, but, you know, PCW is a really special place to me. So I was concerned, but I think when they announced my name in the intro, and I was kind of half listening to it, you know, it was kind of hard to hear where we were at, but when they announced my name and I got a good reaction, then it put my mind at ease. Then it was like, man, I could just go out there and do whatever. I mean, I'm just going to go out there and have a good time. And I did. I had fun. They drew really well, which is good. I know that the Bussies are extremely busy with XKO, which kudos to them and all the super fights that they do. But there is talk of doing these shows, super shows or PCW reunions or special events, maybe once a quarter, hopefully, depending. I mean, that's, you know, that would be really awesome. And, you know, if they invite me to the next one, which I hope they would, you know, my schedules, if I'm available, I would love to do it. But again, really great to see all those that I did get to see. And if I didn't mention you by name, don't worry, I had a blast hanging out with those that I hung out with, you know, like Mace and Matthew Palmer and, you know, Gregory James and Randy Wayne and Code. I mean, the list of guys goes on and on. Now, I missed some people weren't there, and hopefully at the next one maybe it'll be even more of like a reunion. But so yeah. Now also, next week, Reality Wrestling, their next national TV taping. Speaking of which, you can see the latest episode from the most recent tapings beginning tonight, 2 a.m., or tomorrow morning at 2 a.m., whichever. Or when you get to watch it, DVR it at the very least. You know, jam-packed show. They had a new lighting scheme, some new staging, just building upon everything, just some additions to the overall aesthetic of the product. Everybody keeps stepping up their game, and that's what you want. Everybody's hungry to do their best work, and can't ask for more. And I'm just really happy to be a part of it. Excited about May 10th. I mean, they've announced some matches, a couple matches I'm really kind of looking forward to. Is Aiden Cristiano of Team International taking on Hammer. Hammer's been having issues with these guys for a while. Yeah, I gotta hand it to him, man. Guy would not stay down, which people will see in the future. But yeah, I'm kind of intrigued what's going to happen there. And I'm also intrigued because, speaking of Team International, Sergey Volkov will put up his television title against Mysterious Q, who kind of brought the lights down. I mean, there was some weird business going on during his match with Ryan Davidson. If I was Ryan, I would protest. But anyway, Q's going to get a TV title match. And I'm very interested because, again, you got with Sergey, you've got Team International, and you know Q seems to be a man onto his own, so we'll see. But good stuff. Also, like I said, catch the episodes when they air. Whether you're here in Houston, you get to watch them at 2 a.m., or you're watching them nationally when they debut on the Soul of the South Network, 8 p.m. I believe on Wednesdays. But go to realitywrestling.com. Also, if you go to realitywrestling.com or you've been on Facebook and follow them, you'll know that they will be closing out Comic Palooza Memorial Day weekend from the 23rd to the 26th. Comic Palooza, you know, fastly growing, great place for everybody. I'm a big comic book fan, so I'm sure I'll be there. But aside from that, Reality Wrestling will be there, so I'm sure I'll be there for that. Story time. Now, my last video talked about the reason I left PCW, which was to go to PWA. Not, some would consider a knee-jerk reaction, but I had decided I was going to go there. It was just a matter of time, the right opportunity, so on and so forth. So, now a few months prior to me leaving PCW, I started to think about where I was in my career. It's kind of at a crossroads. I mean, again, I've done everything that there was to do at PCW, including winning the Uncut title. It just won that. And think, every year around my anniversary, which my anniversary just passed recently, but I would kind of assess where I was, and it's like, man, I've done quite a bit. What's the next step for me in my career? What, do I stay with PCW, continue to do what I'm doing, or do I try to take it to the next level? Because ultimately a goal back in my head had always been perform on the largest stage. That was always the thing. And I never lost sight of that goal, but again, you got the girl, you got titles, you got the respect of your peers, you're doing quality work, you're in a high position. It's easy to just stay where you're at. But I didn't want to be complacent. But I really wasn't sure, and I enjoyed working with PCW, even though I was getting burned out and whatnot, but I was still enjoying it. And then Franco actually had talked about, we both found out about a tryout for WWE that was going to be taking place at Booker T's PWA. And I had heard about PWA like prior, well, not PWA, I had heard about Booker having a school in Houston, but that was like the fall, and I was in the midst of a big title run and whatnot, and also kind of dealing with injury and so on and so forth. So it was like, moving to Houston or training there, I don't know, let's see how it progresses. But they were going to have this tryout, and Franco wanted to go to the tryout, and he piqued my interest. It was like, wow, it'd be cool to get looked at. And I'd done like a Dreamer clinic not too long ago. Dreamer was actually head of talent relations at that point, or not head of talent relations, but helping guys get signed. I'd done a clinic for him not too long before that. I contacted him, but he pretty much had his list, so I didn't really get a response right away. But Franco had said, well, why don't we go to Booker's facility and check it out, see what it is, and who knows, maybe we'll talk to him, see maybe about getting on his list, because since it was his facility, we were under the impression maybe he'd have a list of his own, so we wouldn't have to necessarily worry about being on Dreamer's list. So the thing about Franco was he was relatively new to the business. He'd been training for a few months, but he was wanting to get to the next level, and I really respect that. I respect a guy that's like driven, and he was really driven to get to the biggest stage. He wasn't going to do this for a long period of time and not climb that ladder. He wanted to get to the big time as soon as possible, and the part of me right there respected that. That was motivating, and it was like, and he was like, man, come with me. You kind of know the ins and outs. Why not? And I had helped him in his development at PCW, especially early on, like getting him prepared for TV and so on and so forth. And we were friends. He was a good guy. I always saw him as a positive more than anything. So he pitched driving. That's sold. Okay, let's go. And we talked wrestling and life and so on and so forth. Good times, man, hanging out with that guy. Guy knows how to party. But anyway, so we get to the facility, and it's got a few rings, and it's a big kind of warehouse thing, and they've got the big doors and so on and so forth. The guys were training. They were like running laps. It's like, wow, okay, all right. Big place, a lot of rings, like 4 or 5 at that point. Saw Charlie Haas there, which was great. That would actually be a benefit to me. And then we met Booker T. And anyone who's met Booker knows that what you see on TV is pretty much what you get in life. That guy is always on, and that's great, because I've always been a big fan of his. From his Harlem Heat days to the King Booker. He was a King Booker at this point. I was digging King Booker. Queen Charmel, King Booker, kissing my feet, all that. I was digging that. So it was great to meet him, because here's a guy that had done some great stuff in the business and was still on top, and making good money. And he was real pleasant, real welcoming. And then Charlie Haas actually chimed in and was like, the Steve DeMarco guy, man, he's a pretty solid guy, man. Pretty good worker. Really be a benefit to anybody's locker room. It was something to that effect. It was just like, wow, this guy who's done it all and considered like a wrestling machine and really well respected, probably everywhere he goes, and here he is like giving me kind of like the stamp of approval. Book's like, okay, cool, and hey, what are y'all thinking, and so on and so forth. We talked to Book about the tryout. He's like, hey man, y'all come to the tryout. That's cool. I need some guys. consider yourselves on the list. And he looked at both of us, looked us up and down. You know, we were dressed kind of, you know, business casual, which is what we've been taught, way you want to handle it. He's like, yeah, you guys come in and, you know, I'll see you at the tryout. Awesome. Awesome. It was great. Really got handed to Franco because I wouldn't have even considered going to it probably without that nudge from Franco. So really got to thank him for that. So get back and I train, and I've been training and, you know, working as much as I can on Uncut and Full Throttle. That, you know, part of being the champ on Uncut and being a main guy in Full Throttle was I could work both shows and work a variety of people and so on and so forth, and then training in the gym and training with my friends and so on. So I felt like I was ready. So the day of the tryout, we get there. It's an early day. They kind of had a height requirement, which affected some of the guys who came in. They were like, no, you know, some guys who had emailed book, nah, can't use you, so on and so forth. But there were some familiar faces there. You know, Russell had shown up. You know, Franco obviously was there. Mike Fox was there. There were a few others. And then there were, like, Tommy Dreamer was there, Fit Finley was there, and Michael Cole was there, and Mike Chioda was there, and Book was there, and there was a few others. Dreamer had his people, and most of them were bodies, and people who kind of looked the part, but people who didn't have as much experience. And then Booker had the guys who'd been on the indies for a bit. That's seemingly how it was. I didn't have any expectations, didn't think I'm going to get in there, blow them away, and get a contract. But I had to be confident enough. And tryouts are kind of nerve-wracking because, you know, it's very quick, like little things that you do, and everyone has to do it because there's so many people. So my thought is be first. Be first at everything. Beat everyone to the punch. That way, hey, even if you screw up, at least you're showing the initiative. So I was first on everything. Everything that they did, any drills, I was trying to be first, so on and so forth. I remember, like, the first time I locked up with somebody, the guy was like wearing jeans and high-tech boots and baseball gloves and a bandana and an NWO shirt. He was like in all black, and he couldn't even lock up. And Book was like real quick. We circled around, go to lock up, and he's not locking up correctly. And I'm looking at Book like, what the? Book's like, freeze it. And anyone who's been under the tutelage of Booker knows freeze it is not a phrase you ever want to hear, because you're either going to get reamed out or it's just going to end. Freeze it, freeze that, freeze it, freeze that, any combination of that. And he told the guy, asked the guy really wasn't very convincing with his answer, so Book kicked him out of there and pretty much kicked him out of the tryout. So the next guy that got in there, I got to stay in. Next guy was Fox. Awesome. Me and Fox get in there, we mix it up a little bit, we're going for a little bit, gaining a little confidence. Fox gets on me a little bit, I cut him down real quick, and I hear freeze it. I go. And that was my first lesson. Continuity within a match, and the psychology of it. Like, why would you do that? Let Fox stay on you for a bit, and then get to a point where we want you to come back. Don't just come back because you want to come back. Mind blown. I mean, I've been on TV, been doing this for, 6 years, but mind blown. Just then, that little thing, just then. It's like, wow, just like, oh my God, you just turned on the color. Man, just off that, and I went, right then I'm thinking, okay. This is what I need. I need this. So, like, the next thing was promos. I was first. I killed it. Everybody that was in the room I pointed at was like, I'm taking your spot. I don't care who you are. I don't care if you're hardcore icon Tommy Dreamer. I'm going after your spot. I don't care if you're well-respected like a Fit Finley. I'm taking your spot. I don't care if you're on commentary, Michael Cole. I'm taking your spot. I don't care if you're king of WWE. King Booker, I'm taking your spot. And we kept on going, and I said, like, there's no show without Steve DeMarco. And it was real quick. Boom. People were like, wow, okay. And I knew promo. I beat everyone else to the punch. So I was feeling pretty good. And because of the promo, I think, and because of some of the other drills that we ran, and I was doing pretty decently, we got to close out the tryout with a tag match. It was me, Fox, I think Franco, and Russell. I'm kind of hazy on if it was Franco or Justin, but I want to say it was Franco. We did a quick little 6-7 minute match. All the agents that were there were real happy with it, liked it. Like, again, you got Fox, you got Russell. You can't go wrong. They knew those two guys, so it helped too. Like, boom. My confidence was good. We also got, and I forgot to mention someone that was there. Out of all of it, the person who probably went the farthest, or farther than anybody else, was Brooke Tessmacher. She was there. Like, didn't have any experience, but was a nice looking girl, really in shape, and she had sex appeal, and I think she got signed fairly quickly right after that. She's about the only one, though. Anyway, so after that, we got the invite from Booker to go to the house show. They're going to have a house show at Toyota Center, and that was pretty cool. Me and Franco were not really students at that point, but it was great to get the invite. We met up with everybody, went to the house show, got to be backstage. It was great. It was great. And it was like, wow, this is where I want to be. This is where I want to be. I want to be backstage at one of these shows, like performing. And it's good to see like London and Kendrick and Super Crazy, who, and a few others that I got to meet. It was, seeing Undertaker in person and like meeting him. And I met him once before, but meeting him again in this element, still was in awe of him, and Khali and a few others. But it was great to see Booker performing, and we got to kind of sit out in the entryway, kind of right by the screen, and get to see King Booker in all his glory and whatnot. And it was just good. It was great. It was great. Finley was there. All the agents that were there. Some that were at the tryout talked to me a little bit. Were like, good stuff. Keep it up. Work on the stuff that you need to work on, so on and so forth. And Regal was there. It was just great. It was great all around. And then to make matters even better, we got the invite to be a part of the school. Now I need to kind of back up. When I broke into the business, I had the opportunity, before I started training with George, I went and looked at Shawn Michaels, TWA, and was really impressed. This was right around the time that the 4 guys had gotten signed. Got to see a live show, talked to Shawn, talked to his mom, got a brochure, wanted to do it, but I couldn't afford it. And it was one of those things, like, I wanted to start training. I didn't want to like try to save up. It was just, I wanted to get into a ring. It felt like, I wanted to kind of, that inspiration to pass me by. So, I made another choice, and it went with someone that had a payment plan. But I'd always kind of regretted not training under Shawn Michaels, a guy who I idolized. So when this opportunity came about, I'm not going to pass it up. Spoke to Book a little bit about my situation. He was like, look, man, you get here, we'll work it out. Don't worry, just, we'll work it out. Great. Gave us the invite. It was like, you come here, next week kind of deal. Awesome. So we stayed in Arlington for a bit, but I was hooked. I'm gonna do this. So I jumped at the chance, because again, he's King Booker. Why wouldn't I do it? And even more so, it's not that far away. A 4-hour drive, but still, I could do it for the time being. Now, there was conflict though. On the one hand, be a student at PWA, be under the mentorship, and be humble like a student, versus being a PCW, a made guy, a top guy. There was that. Fresh start at PWA. Don't know very many people. I know Franco. But again, it's a fresh start. Chance to do things right and, break the bad habits. Versus the drama that was PCW, because I was so entrenched in it. So there were those conflicts. But there's also that next step. Do I stay at PCW and continue to do what we're doing? Or do I take that leap and just be a student and see where this takes me. And for a little bit there, I stayed at Arlington, and because of Franco, we could go once or twice a week, do a couple of classes, learn. But after a while, it was like, well, maybe I need to make some sacrifices, because again, it was that conflict. How do I apply the lessons I'm learning from book at this place if I don't have book to be there to go, that's not right. You know, you become a certain level, it's hard really. You can go to your peers, you can go like, I can go to Fox, go to Action Jackson, go to Richard. But it's still not quite the same as going to like Booker, who's on WWE television, knows what they're looking for, more importantly, can tell me what to work on, the specifics. And again, it just plays with you, because you know, it's, the ego's there, but trying to be humble, and like, oh man. So everything kind of worked to a frenzy, and it just seemed like the right time. When I left, it seemed like the right time to leave PCW and just relocate, like fully commit myself to this, to PWA, to Booker T, just be a student. Just be a student. Not sure of how long. I always felt like I could go back to PCW if need be. Now, I the way I left, in my mind, it was like, look, guys, I just threw in the towel. Like, literally threw in the towel. Like, this is good. We can use that. And then when I come back, it's like, well, you quit, and I've got all these people. Like, that was in my mind. Now, did that come across in the conversation with Richard? No. I was like, I'm done. Again, I'm leaving Ashley in the midst of our run, but it was like, well, we can always come back to it. Let me go there and see. Let me be fully entrenched in it. So that's where I was. And I decided to relocate, and I was lucky in a sense. I had family here, so that kind of helped for a second. Early days, it was lessons learned, man. So many things. The playbook. Never thought about a playbook. Working scenarios or situations, like not just going through a match for the sake of going through a match, but breaking down the match into particular parts and thinking of what the situation was, like TV or storyline based. And it was seeing it as a fan, not looking at it from an analytical point or from a point of being a worker, but like a fan. Like, what was it like when you were a fan? What worked? What didn't work? What works now? What doesn't work now? The locker room etiquette, just the way up there, kind of to a degree, you know, listening to book and a story, you kind of get an idea of how it worked backstage, like, and then also extending and stretching out stuff to where like a simple bump and feed was no longer just a simple bump and feed. You could throw in elements and extend it and make it into so much more dramatic and so on and so forth. And also reacting versus acting, like you're not necessarily, you're reacting to everything. That's the best way to do it. And then, like I said, it turned on a switch. Those early months turned on a switch. Because it was just learning. I was absorbing it now. Because again, you got Booker telling you, like, what works, what doesn't work. And, you know, I'm not at his level. Could be at the level of the other guys at PCW, but not at his level. That friends started to come. You know, had Adrian, had Eddie, had Russell, had Jared, had Maria, had Jessica, and started to feel like, okay, a little more confidence building into that first show. Obviously, I had doubts early on because, again, it was, I'm a top guy everywhere else, and I come here and I can't even get through like the opening moments of a match without getting told freeze that, and it would get nerve-wracking, and it would be a blow to the ego, like, man, what am I doing wrong? Like, fighting my conditioning, fighting my mind as far as what I thought would work, and hearing this stuff, and, you know, so I'd go to friends, like I'd go to London, and I'd go to Russell, and I'd go to Eddie, and ask them, you know, I mean, Eddie and Russell had gone up to train, you know, like OVW and whatnot, and asking them, like, how is it over there? And same way, like they break you down so that they can build you back up. And Paul was kind of the same way, like they break you down to build you back up. You just can't get so wrapped in it. You just have to see it as a lesson, so on and so forth. He was a real complimentary book, and like, stay there. Everybody was like, stay there. And then once everybody started to come, okay, I can do this. I was homesick for Arlington. You know, missing Ash. Missing her a lot. I mean, we'd have conversations, but we didn't see each other. I didn't have necessarily the money to go back and forth. I was working, but trying to put money aside, trying to work towards giving money to books, so on and so forth. Some of the money was kind of tight. It was hard for her. She had school and work, and so I missed her. And I thought, well, man, maybe go back to PCW. Maybe go back for a little bit. I think she came down for a Christmas party for the company I was working for, the temp agency I was working for at the time. She came down for that, and we hung out, here and there. She'd come when she could. But it was like, and we talked, and she'd be, she'd go to shows, maybe not necessarily sit in the audience. She was welcomed by everybody. But, I could tell she missed performing, and I missed performing. Approached Richard about coming down. I didn't really care, about pay or anything. It was just like, come down and you get to see everybody. Maybe talk something. Maybe, Tavia could make her grand return, and I think Triple X was 2006. We did. Had known who I was going to face at PWA's first show, so I think I was right kind of in the midst of that, which I'll cover in a sec. But I went for Triple Xmas 2006. I helped out Franco, did a run-in in his match against Lance. Tavia came out with Franco, and she left with me. And it was great. We had a good time. We had fun. It was good to see everybody. But it was short-lived, I think, in part because they had a game plan where they wanted to go. And they said, Richard was like, give me a little time, see how it goes with book, and then we'll revisit this. And I was cool with that. I didn't necessarily feel too shafted, but then kind of, I was like kind of expecting, oh, well, cool, you're back, let's start doing stuff. And it was kind of like, you kind of left abruptly. I think that's where Richard was coming from. Anyway. Now my debut at Christmas Chaos 1, PWA's first, major show, Pasadena Convention Center. I took on Umaga. Awesome. Wish I had that footage. Book was real complimentary of it. We had a lot of agents there. They were very complimentary of it. More importantly, Umaga was complimentary of it. It was a good debut for me. He was on this tear, bulldozing guys, literally. Top guys. I'm just a local guy from, a student, in essence. But, he was like, man, if I come back, I'll give you some more offense. We'll make something of this. Awesome. The fact he liked the match was great. The fact Book was like, yeah. We'd watch it, film study. I remember watching film study, and Book just being real complimentary of it. And everybody else like, oh my God, he killed you. And it was like, guys, he was such a pro. It was so awesome. And he was such a pro. It was good. I was glad to be part of it. Like I said, wish I had the footage. I paid my dues, so on and so forth. And then I started to think of, again, the next step. Once I got that one match under my belt, then one show under my belt, and then I ended up not being on PWA Slamuary show, and I was actually security for that show, which it is what it is. You're a student, you do what you're told. It's okay. I started thinking, well, what's the next step? And I had become familiar with YouTube. I've been a member, seen some stuff. Ashley actually had sent me one of the first, she sent me the first link to a YouTube video ever. And then I became a member. And at that point, I didn't see many wrestlers on there. We're talking late 2006, early 2007. I think the Lonely Girl thing was just about to get exposed, or they were in the midst of it. But the webcam or the vlog idea intrigued me. And originally, also I'd been hanging out with Paul London a lot. In my travels back and forth from, I'd go through Austin sometimes. And, or when I was working a contract gig, I would go to Austin, get to spend time with him and when he was off the road. And we'd talk, and he had this man cave, and we'd call it the Lucha Lounge. He'd call it the Lucha Lounge. And I liked that idea, you know, like a man cave, and I was like, oh, like a webcam, maybe, or handheld, possibly. You know, I have to get those two, one of those things. But I kept thinking, wow, it'd be great to have Ashley in it. Because a hot girl, even on the thumbnail, would get you hits, because YouTube at that point wasn't what it is now. So yeah, I started thinking of like confessional type, or us in the gym, or us traveling, or just different scenarios that would be the obnoxious couple, like, you know, the rock star couple and whatnot. I wasn't even aware of an internet wrestling community. And I mean, that was like early February. I started thinking of, okay, you know, if I were to do a web series, and I like the Lucha Lounge, I'd make it like 4 minutes, 20 seconds, you know, make it real quick, kind of introduce us, where we're going, so on and so forth. Why not? But now it's like saving up money for a camera, saving up money for a laptop, saving up money, you know, like, and I was getting these things at that point. And part of it was like, okay, well, if I want Ashley in it, then I need to go back to PCW, only because it'd make it easier for us. And maybe it could be a springboard to doing other shows. Like, we won't be there all the time, but if we could, great. At least I'd have that. We could do the to and from, and now they have footage, and maybe I could use that footage for my stuff. So I started pitching ideas. And I think mainly because I wanted to go back, because it would help my confidence at PWA, because I'm really kind of a role player. Or so that's how I thought. I shouldn't have thought that way. I should have been like, take every opportunity, make the most of it. I didn't. I tried, and I would make the most of it, but that was my mindset. I'm kind of like a role player, because my next match at PWA would be against Dog Cheatham, Russell, my friend, and Maria, his girl, Rosa. And they were going to do kind of like the dog bounty hunter gimmick. Came up with it and had Rosa, Maria play Rosa, like, you know. It worked. It worked. They gave him a Dogs Rules match, so they turned our match into a hardcore match. Okay. But Book would tweak it. He liked our match, but he'd give me like, well, you need more offense, man. You're not just a, you know, and he'd even say, you're not just another guy. You're going to do something. So let's do it. And the match is great. There's footage out there, or I know people who have footage, and I've seen it once or twice. Really liked it. Film study, Book loved it, especially when Rosa jumped on me and started pounding on me, and I flip her off my back. She hits the floor really hard, and I actually yanked some hair, you know, her weave, I guess, which got a big pop from the boys, but got a big pop out there. Like, the crowd was into it, and it's always a pleasure working Russell. So yeah. So again, I started to think of the video concept. I thought that was the way to go, to use YouTube and at that time MySpace, and use those. Like, why not? And so I talked to Ashley here and there. You know, she was in Hawaii the first part of March, first week of March. I got like a video text from her like early on. I mean, phenomenal. Like, for the longest time I had that phone and would play it every so often after the fact. But I remember a conversation we had on March 6th. I had just been told I'd be permanent at the firm I worked for. I was no longer going to be temporary. So my plan was coming together for stability. I wanted to be stable in Houston. This job I'd worked for a little, you know, for a bit as a temp, but now I'd get benefits, you know, increase in pay, and I could live on my own as opposed to being a roommate of somebody's. That was my plan. And I told Ashley about this video series, and she was all like, that'd be awesome, yeah, you know, and she was real comfortable in front of a camera. So I thought, man, it'd be awesome. We could film stuff. I said, I'm going to get the camera like the week before the Jeffrey Yaw's benefit show, because that was when I was going to come back and kind of start stuff at that point, I think. That was like St. Patty's Day. So I was like, even better, look, we'd be partying and whatnot. And she was like, no, that'd be cool. We could film a few of them in case, we don't see each other right away. And I was like, cool. And I talked about maybe traveling, going to Austin, doing some shows there. People like Trusted. Book was cool with that at that point. He was fine with that. Work where you can. Just make sure you get your money and make sure you don't get hurt. And that's cool. And I remember on the 6th pitching the idea of talking to Book about bringing her down to Houston. I thought, well, we'll do some videos over that weekend, over St. Patty's Day weekend. We kind of show him some stuff. I said, plus I got that Kiss My Foot match. I had the DVD. I could show him that. He knows Action Jackson. We could pitch the idea of me and her together in this video series, and that would help PWA in a sense, because we'd hype up PWA and our travels and this, that, and the other. I was going to pitch it to him. It was like, after I see you on the 17th, I'll go to him with what we have. She's like, wow, that would be awesome. And I said, and I'll put it out on YouTube. She'd be like, that's great. I said, we'll be internet celebrities. She was like, awesome. I said, man, it's so coming together. So coming together. And she was like, yeah, it is. We ended on that night on such a good note. Such a good conversation. We're on the same page. The future. Plans. Stuff I talked to her about before I left. It could happen. This could be a reality. March 8th was like any day. I was 9 days away from seeing my girl. Performing again with her. It was going to be great. For a good cause. Didn't matter what I did on the show. I don't think I even knew then. We also had March Mayhem coming up for PWA. And again, I would pitch the idea, maybe I'm not on the March show. Maybe I'm on the April show and we do this thing. Just see. Book would love it. I think he'd love it. Get messages from her on MySpace and text messages. One message like, come get me. Wishing I was there. It's going to be so great to perform again. About 6 o'clock I get a call on my cell from Terry Stevens asking, and I thought it was about, he wanted to know about PWA because he was roughing up there. And I almost didn't pick it up. And I kind of wish I had. I've covered this story. To this day, it still gets me. Getting that call, thinking it's a joke, getting confirmation, changed my life forever. The confirmation changed it. Because there was still hope when I heard from Terry, when I heard from Richard. I was still in a state of hope. It was going to be just a gunshot wound. She'd be okay. That phone call from her phone, seeing that screenshot that I had as her profile pic when she would call. Listen to that song, Crazy Bitch, which was the song, to answer it so happily, thinking, okay, she's at the hospital, but she's fine. To hear someone else's voice on the other end to confirm that Ashley passed. Even now, 7 years later, 7+ years later, it's still. The air left the room. Sense left the room. Logic left the room. I remember going to PWA, and before that, calling my bosses, tell them I don't know if I'm coming in tomorrow. I tried to. going to Booker, telling him. Hardest. I think really heartbreaking was talking to Corman because he was so poetic. Such a friend. I'm beside myself. You know, friends like Rashawn, who just kind of kept me distracted. Franco kept me distracted. Booker's kind words, like, take a break, take as long as you need. Charmel, like, offering words of, you know, comfort. I appreciate that. I had to go back to PCW a couple days earlier, a week earlier than I had planned. Her funeral, the viewing. PCW was going to do something for her, a little tribute. I was asked if I wanted to come say a few words, and I figured that that would be my time to say whatever I could say, to eulogize her. I can't even believe that. My mom came, not knowing what to say, not knowing what to do, just being there, which was enough. Talking to my dad not knowing what to say, like beside himself, like not knowing what to say. The tribute video was on YouTube for a bit. I'm going to play it now with some alternate commentary. This video was a video done by Jamie Aller. I really got to thank Jamie for it. Unfortunately, it was on YouTube for a bit, and it still is to some degree. Like, I can see it. Some people can't because of the copyright, because of the music, which Jamie used Rascal Flatts, What Hurts the Most. Really had only a short period of time to put this together, like 2 days, I think. So, yeah, it really hit me when the video played. I remember not really even being able to make the 10 bell salute following it. Thing got to 2, and then I ran to the back. It just, you know, was about to crumble. Still gets me. The song still gets me. It's just such great times. Such a great shot. And Jamie, I really appreciate the work you did on this. And just so touching. A couple days later, I'd go to the viewing. I was invited by the family to go when the family could go. Met a lot of that family I hadn't met. Met her mom previously to it, but everybody else I really hadn't met. Met her dad, met her stepmom, met, you know, her sister, just people in her life. I knew some, you know, her co-workers, because they were my co-workers at one point. Viewings are just, words can't describe them. I went to the site where it happened. Part of my research on grief. I'd worked there. I knew the GM, knew everybody there. Wanted answers, and went and got my answers. Shared a shot with a few friends. Talked to the GM. Got confirmation from her family, and, you know, also her feelings for me, which was so bittersweet. You just never know. The funeral, a lot of people showed up. It was like a rock star wedding. Sweet child of mine. her friend who gave the eulogy, or one of them, she passed shortly afterwards in a car accident. Still blows my mind. Just remember everybody that was there, and then I remember people that didn't show. The Bussies didn't show. I was kind of taken aback by that. I mean, really seriously taken aback by it, and I just couldn't grasp my head. I would hear later that they provided like a floral arrangement, but I really wanted them there. I didn't tell them that. I mean, you don't tell people to show up at a funeral. You just, funerals are hard for everybody. I wish they had been there. But a funeral, yeah. A few days later, I would go back to PCW for the Jeffrey Yawls benefit show. I faced BJ. Here it is. So this is the match that took place at the Jeffrey Yawls benefit show. Sanders Claus, I think, or Sanders Claus was the title of the show. To say I was distracted, just to put it mildly, minor understatement. Actually, BJ had left PCW shortly after I had left it. Kind of the same thing. A little more like disillusioned with the stuff, but he had left for a bit, was coming back, and really he had told me at Ashley's funeral that he was coming back to face me. I think initially I was going to face like 3 other guys, like in a 4-way or something for the show, but BJ at the last minute told Richard that he wanted to wrestle me. So really thank BJ and thank Richard for it. Travis being the ring announcer. Now the entire time I'm debating if I'm going to actually wrestle. I mean, I debated more or less. I told BJ, I don't go for the handshake, that I'm kind of done. I'm not going to wrestle. And I went out there and just really still was contemplating, man, do I really want to do this? I just wasn't in the right frame of mind. As much as I respect BJ, it wasn't about that. It was just, I'm completely beside myself. Just grief, mourning, thinking maybe this might be the best way to deal with it. Get in a ring, where me and Ashley did the majority of our stuff. I'm just debating. I mean, we're about 2 minutes in and I'm still not sure. And then I think I look at BJ and I know, okay, let's do this. BJ, asking me if I'm good, but, we go to it. Now, a couple things happened prior to this match, prior to this show. We originally talked about possibly doing something, playing the tribute video before the show, but given the media that was going to be there and the fact that it was kind of a Jeffrey Yawls benefit show, they didn't want to take away from that. I kind of understand that. At the same time, I felt pretty shafted. I remember filming my very first vlog for YouTube, and just as an intro, and then I had actually written something and that I was going to talk about. So I'll give a couple of the highlights here. I'm writing this today because I want to get it right for her. She would expect no less from me. So for her, she who passed away a little over a week ago, I say this today. She's the very reason that I'm here today. She's the reason that I swallowed my pride, my ego, and came back. I was done with here and with everybody, call it love, jealousy, being burnt out, call it having an ego, being a diva, but whatever it was, I was tired of it. She began convincing me to come back. She missed it and she missed me. A few months later, I reappeared for less than I was worth. She was disappointed in the delivery for a person's comeback, the comeback of the guy who clearly was there when so many left. We both felt disrespected. I was done again. This time we both felt shafted, and I was further angered by Ashley being disrespected by the company she had grown to love. So again, the convincing came. My anger subsided because she had forgiven this place. She still felt love here. Then the discussion for the show, Jeffrey's benefit. She'd be here for it. She'd give me my much needed time and much desired dose of Ashley. Then Terry's call came. Terry Stevens, who's actually in this video, came Thursday afternoon, and my whole life changed. Gone was Ashley, the love of my life, the one who gave me so much and took even more, the woman that I fantasize about, my spring break, my childhood Christmas, the mother of my children, the prom queen in a walking, talking porno flick, Ashley. I'll always hurt for her. Nothing will ease it. My heart has a chunk missing, a chunk Ashley took from me the day we laid her to rest. For those with condolences, I thank you. I wrote that in my journal prior to going out there. I was just so ticked off, to a degree. I was just in so many just different emotions, feeling like maybe this might be the right thing. But honestly, I look at it now. BJ was a great opponent and always been a great friend, and I really appreciate him coming there in my time of need. I appreciate like Rob Moore and Paul Lewis and everyone's kind words that day and the week before. I just appreciate so many people. I appreciate Richard Hill, and appreciate the opportunity to get to perform in front of everybody. And hopefully I did Ashley proud. Good times. Losing Ashley hurt to my bones. My bones hurt. Depression, and then some. Just waves of it. Waves of being lost. Trying to distract myself in all the wrong ways. Doing stuff I don't even, was in the right frame of mind. I researched it, I counseled it, I journaled it, I used YouTube. Those first like 8 videos were pretty much kind of me trying to go through it. MySpace blogs, there's so many blogs on MySpace, my feelings. Playing the what if game. Constantly playing that. Like, what if I just stayed in town and tried to delay me leaving and then bring her with me? What if I'd done that? Or what if I came a week earlier? Or what if I had just gotten in my car and driven when she said come get her? Just left work. What if I'd done that? Blamed myself. Felt tremendous guilt. I remember writing in a journal we'd have our fights like everybody. We weren't always on the same page. And being like, man, I can't wait till the relationship's over, at times, because it was one of those things. She had such a grasp on me that she could just say something and I would just go back to her. And you get in those fights, stupid fights, petty stuff. We're just making certain, I like this song and it happens to be like, the video's dealing with death, and you're just like, why would you even think like that? I was in a big haze, being numb. I ached to be numb, because then the pain would go away for a little bit, just a little bit. But I was in such a place. I got approached about coming back to PCW. I thought maybe that would help me, that would do me some good. So April I started going. Thought, man, it'd be cool. But it was hard. So hard. So hard. Been in that locker room. I think of the time where, before matches, Ashley would get in our meeting, and Ashley would kind of walk beside me. Her right hand would, the top of her right hand would touch my left palm, and I would know I was going to be okay because she was there. Just so different, trying to perform without her there, doing my pose and not having her there. And a couple weeks into my run, I did another show in the area. Mike Page, one of the first times I've ever worked for Mike. Me and Franco were going to tag up, and I found out me and Franco were going to tag up at PWA. I think there was talk of that. And the book was like, hey, we're going to do this thing. I think you guys can be together, so on and so forth. So I thought, okay, that'd be cool, kind of work out the kinks. We faced like Spoiler 2K and Bash, and they went over. Me and Franco, had an issue also at PCW, he turned on me, so on and so forth. And I'm going to the back and, make my way to the back. Mike Fox gets on the microphone and just kind of makes this off-the-cuff remark about me and the catchphrase, and he has without the main event there is no show, and I have there is no show without Steve DeMarco. And I remember just seeing red, and I think someone said, did you hear what he just said? And I walked to the ring and proceeded to attack Mike. Probably one of the darkest days in my wrestling career. Something I would never, ever do. Ever. I was so unprofessional. So angry. I remember in a moment when Richard got me to the back and people are pulling me off, and I'd come back a couple of times after Fox. Once wasn't enough. Richard being like, what are you mad at? I'm like, I don't know, Richard. I don't know. Or something like, what are you doing? I don't care, something. I highly respect Fox. I've had conversations with Fox. I had a conversation with him at the Super Show because I wanted to tell him, hey, I'm going to talk about this. And he was like, man, no need to apologize. And I was like, no, man, I need to apologize. I was wrong on so many levels. The way I reacted, the way I carried myself. Me and Fox always played off the catchphrases. It was just our thing. Any other show, any other time, I'm in the back. You can say whatever you want. I'm not coming to the ring. I'm not coming after you. I'm not going to try to pick a fight with you. Why am I trying to pick a fight with you? And I don't blame Richard for calling me and a couple days later and being like, man, they're not going to need you on the show. And in me questioning it, knowing full well what the reason was. But I wholeheartedly apologize. It was one of the darkest days in my career, and a true regret because of how I handled it. I'd not be on PWA's April show, and then I would wrestle for QFC in Austin for about a month, just a couple of guys. But it was another situation where if I got rubbed the wrong way, I was just in such a, just so bad, not in the right frame of mind, and I just kind of be like, whatever. Kind of held it together when I got back to PWA, and once me and Franco teamed up, we actually beat Krill. I love those guys. Loved the character, loved the whole stable. Jessica, Steve, and Adrian, or AD, Crete, and Lady Poison. Just awesome. But we got a win over them, which was pretty shocking. And then we lost to them like a month later in the rematch. Did a couple of podcasts. A lot of times it would be talking about losing Ash and where I was at and all of that. And I'm just trying to heal. And moving forward, we'll talk a little bit about it. Just how hard it was. But, you know, I had to move on. I mean, in conclusion, you know, I'm with the same company in Houston that I started with back in '06. Still with them, from temp to permanent. Enjoy my contributions. I left and came back to Booker's, which we'll cover next video. Next couple of videos we'll cover leaving and coming back. And what it wasn't really anything major. Spoiler alert, nothing huge, no big blow up. But we'll talk about my mindset, especially after a big event that shocked wrestling. Probably still shocks wrestling. You know, on YouTube, I have 1,146 subscribers. You know, obviously you wish you had more. I've done this is 197, so I've done quite a few videos. Get a lot of support. People love my stuff. You know, the ones that come up to me that are fans. I really appreciate anyone who supports it. As far as my life goes, I have my days. There are days. There are days. I miss her. There are days. There are always going to be days. Some days are better than others. I mean, she was taken. That's the thing. I can't wrap my head around it. Never will. But here's the thing. They say God works in mysterious ways, and He never gives you more than you can handle. I've heard that. Read that. He took an angel from me. If we say God has a plan, He took an angel from me. And as devastated as I was, I came through it. And God brought me an angel in Samantha. Samantha's everything I could want. I'm so happy to be with her. I'm blessed every day she's around, because she's helped me more than she'll ever know. I've told her. But I was in such a dark place when we met, and in such a rage when we met, that I really do gotta hand it to her that she's stuck by me. And we've gone through a lot, but she is my angel on this earth. So, now, questions before we wrap up. I got one, only one. Kind of brighten it up before we leave. Man, it's good to talk about this stuff, get it off my chest. And I appreciate you guys taking the time. Appreciate it. Now, this is from Facebook, Eric Nino. I can't pronounce your last name, not even going to try, I'm sorry. Basically, he says, what was the most challenging thing you had to learn while training? He said for him, it was taking bumps. And then he said, thanks for being an inspiration. Now, Eric, I want to say good luck with your knee rehab. You've gone through 4 surgeries on your left knee. That's tough. That's tough. I have not gone through surgery on either knee or surgery in general, minus a couple of minor procedures. It's tough. And good luck to you, man. And I appreciate being an inspiration to you. But, just work, man. Just work at it. Hopefully come through it. Now, as far as to answer your question, bumps were difficult, but I will say this. I was in very good hands when it came to training. George De La Isla, Ray Campos, and especially Russell Simpson, the way we would go through the bumping progression or running the ropes, worked to keep me safe. Just the steps we would take just to take a flat bump, 5 steps pretty much. Those 5 steps I still do. If I get in the ring, warming up, still go through them just to warm up. Get my body used to it. Falling's difficult. Your body doesn't want to do it. But but you learn, tuck the chin, do the rest. And really that schooling early on really helped. Psychology, I would say, would be the hardest thing to grasp. It is hard to grasp. But once you get it, and then you learn how to get more of it, and it's great. So now, in my next video, to give you a little bit, I'll be talking about starting to work on the indies some more, and you know, as my time with PWA will draw to an end, or that break will come, and I will definitely be focusing on independent wrestling entertainment, otherwise known as IWE, and those who are part of it, the stories, my mindset, the good times. So, I appreciate all of you sitting back watching this and listening to it. I appreciate all the comments, all the support, and as always, how I like to end these: stay cool, stay sexy, stay classy. But hey guys, you're already here, so you are all those. Later.